Okay, here is Bullet Breeze, and this is a really beautiful 16 two-hand 6-year-old thoroughbred gelding by Golden Lad, and of course Golden Lad is by Medaglia d'Oro, so follows that line. And he is having his second post-track ride here today. This kid just had his last start on May 16th, so he's 2 weeks since his last start. He ran 37 times, and I think he made like $133,000 at the track, so not too bad. So on his first post-track ride, I still had his full set of racing plates on, and he had these big old grabs on behind. Plus, he's just long in the toe to begin with, and he just felt so stuck in the footing in the ring. It felt like I was riding him in quicksand, and honestly, it didn't look so bad in the video, like compared to how it felt. But it felt horrible. So literally, the second I got off of him the other day after his first ride, we pulled off those hind shoes. And so then I came back out the next day to do this ride, hoping that he would feel better, just more able to travel across the ground. And he certainly did. And I knew we were risking probably a bit of foot soreness. I'm sure right after you pull off their hind shoes, especially when they've been going with grabs on behind, no doubt if you put the testers on this horse, he's going to be a little bit foot sore as he gets used to now being barefoot. But he actually felt so much better than he did with the shoes on, and there was no getting stuck behind, which on the video, if you watch it, kind of looks like he's tripping behind a little bit, even though that's not what's happening. It's literally that his toe is just getting stuck in the footing. But none of that happened without the hind shoes on. So that was just a huge relief for this ride. It was so much easier for me, and I'm sure it was felt a million times easier for him. So that was wonderful. And this horse is just, well, first of all, he's just absolutely beautiful. He has this very classic thoroughbred look about him. Gorgeous, gorgeous head that I just love. Big old intelligent eyes. I just really like looking at him in general. And to ride, he's just easy. He's just a very sweet, easy horse. I have a big group of horses like this right now, which I'm very thankful for, because most people tend to be looking for the more easy type of horse. Of course, I mean, who wouldn't be? And he is certainly a horse that, I'm riding him in this ride with some little spurs on. He never wants to travel more forward than I'm asking of him. So this is a horse that I really never have to touch in the mouth. Of course, we're starting to have the conversation about softness. He's actually very soft in his mouth, so props to whoever was riding him on the racetrack. He was definitely well ridden. He finds the left flexion a little bit harder than the right, which is opposite of what's probably the norm, but it doesn't matter. They all have one side that's easier than the other. So to the left, I have to work on getting him a little bit up off that inside shoulder that he wants to lean on a little bit. So he finds the right easier for that reason. But actually, in this ride, in both directions, he was just naturally on his own, starting to look for the stretch, which is just wonderful and tells you that, they're connecting the dots. They're figuring out that what we're asking them to do is actually in their own best interest and it feels good and all those things. So that was really wonderful. He had a much easier time in the canter work without those grabs on behind. So just everything was better. And obviously it's just easier on the second ride because you've ridden them before. So I just have a better understanding of, coming out, what to expect and what we need to work on and all that kind of good stuff. But horses like this that are just so quiet in their brains, they make it very easy. And so I really liked this here because he's starting to look for some stretch. And sometimes he's looking for the stretch and other times we lose it. But what's cool about him is that because he's such a quiet natured horse, you can ride him around with the loop in the rein. Even when you lose the connection, the tempo never changes. So he doesn't speed up or slow down because he's off the connection and he's on a long rein. He stays exactly the same. So we canter to the right first because, of course, since he finds the right bend a little bit easier, that's going to be the canter direction that he finds slightly more comfortable right now. I shouldn't say more comfortable. He just finds it more natural. Everybody's kind of like how humans, well, we tend to be right-handed. Some people are left-handed. It doesn't really matter. Everybody has a dominant hand. It's kind of like the same thing with the horses and which lead they find easier or which bend they find easier. So there, he just had like a little trip, and obviously I'm not tight enough with my fingers because I actually lost the reins, which is sort of embarrassing and funny, but he was excellent. He did not mind me fumbling around and picking the reins back up. So we're gonna have a little left lead canter here next, and then there's some video of him on the ground on cross ties at the end, and he is extremely personable on the ground. Absolutely wants all the attention that you have the time to give him, and he loves water. I mean, he just wants to crawl into the hose. So he has a good time after his ride, sort of splashing himself and you if he can get you, if he can get the hose in his mouth and splash everybody, he loves that so much. It's very cute.